First one on YouTube Live as well.
Oh, okay, good. Got any music?
Live on YouTube.
We're on YouTube.
YouTube?
All right, welcome
Facebook?
YouTubers.
That's new.
Yeah.
Yeah, just this week.
Oh,
So
really?
How about that?
everybody, this voice is Matt, station manager here, just so you know. Welcome YouTubers. We're getting ready to go live on Facebook. Are y'all ready to go live?
We're ready. Got some music. Bring us on.
Yep.
Love that music. Sounds like the circus came to town. Hello, everybody. Paul Collins here, along with my beautiful co-host, my wife, Nancy. Have a special guest we'll tell you about in a moment. This is the Happy Hour. It's the friendliest show on radio, the best look on Facebook, and the best thing to see on TV. And now what rhymes with YouTube? I'll have to make up something. But today, for the first time for the Happy Hour, we are also not only Axe Internet Radio and Facebook, but YouTube. And remember, you can go online anytime to axmediagroup.com, and you can find these programs, playbacks. They'll be on for a long time so that you can tell your friends who missed the live show. They can pick up on it. By the way, speaking of that, we hope that you will push, if you're watching by Facebook, that you'll hit the share button. And I like to tell everybody, tell a friend about the broadcast. Not only this broadcast, but everything that you can see and hear on Axe Media Group, Axe Radio, Facebook, TV, YouTube, all week long, because Axe Ministry is the place to be. And by the way, a disclaimer, Axe Ministry, Axe Media Group, or any of their departments are not liable nor responsible for anything that you see or hear on the Happy Hour. Having said that, I want to point out that Axe Ministry is a non-profit organization. It's been around nearly 26 years and always doing the right thing and serving where needed. Very low profile and consequently low budget. So when you go on that website, look for a way to hit the donate button, and let's have a major push for the next expansion, because this ministry is expanding, and it's a very secular ministry in that it's not, we are Christian, and this is a Christian-based program. Have a little levity, a little humor, some hard news, good interviews, but Axe Ministry has found a way to reach into the secular marketplace, and we try very hard to reach people with the kidney problems, the veterans, handicapped people, parents of autistic children, all these various causes, so that no one is left untouched by the good works of Axe Ministry. We are a very diverse group. We are trans-denominational, trans-doctrinal. We have a variety of ethnic groups and people who are involved with us, and well, for instance, on this program, we've had 3 African-American guests who are very important players in this local community of Springfield, Missouri, where we're located. And we have some Latinos coming on, and we have a group of various professional people who've been on and are coming back on. So, having mentioned our need for donations and our diversity, I want to get around to first of all, saying good morning, Nancy. My second time to say good morning. First time was when we crawled out of bed this morning. How are you today? I haven't had a chance to ask you. We've been so busy.
Well, doing just fine. I was able to get up. I was able to take nourishment, so I'm doing okay.
I like that report. My old songwriting buddy, who's been deceased now about 3 years, Gary S. Paxton, who wrote Monster Mash and Alley Oop and Cherry Pie and many other huge hits. He used to say, any day above ground is a good day. And then a guy that I saw when I was teaching at the local college, I told him about that, and he said, but only if you're able to sit up and take nourishment. So that's where we are. Our guest today is a demonstration of our diversity. And I want to tell you, I've known him almost all his life. Almost.
A little over 45 years, I think.
Something like that. Get that microphone up there where we can be sure. Yeah, over.
Right around that, a little over. I think I was just guessing this morning. It was a little over 45 years.
Yes, in fact, actually, it goes back to when my family and I lived on Sugar Creek Lake.
Yeah, I remember coming out there.
And so it pushes it back more like closer to 50 years.
Yeah, it's real close to that. I would just.
And then we went for about 42 years without having any contact. And when we did have contact, it was not the greatest occasion in the world because his mother passed, who was a dear friend of mine, and I was called on to preside at her memorial service in Camdenton, Missouri. And Doug, your mom will be missed for a long time to come. I can tell you, my mom left this sphere, went into eternity back in 1962, and I still miss my mama. But that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yes.
All right, Doug is here because he represents a portion of American culture that very few people know hardly anything about. Doug is connected with Native Americans and is a healer in the Native American tradition. Doug, you tell us what that means.
Two different areas there. One is the Native American and the other is the healer.
All right.
The way it's recognized, I guess. Native American is just a way of life. You know, you don't really have to have it in your blood, but there are those that have Native American blood. The spirituality is connection with nature and using nature and what nature has to offer us to help us heal and enjoy life. Take what you need, no more, and use what nature has to offer to help you heal. Healing is kind of how I got into this. I was studying after I found out I had the ability to heal people, to take, help them release pain. A healer doesn't actually do the healing. We're a conduit. We channel energy from the spirits, harness energy fields, the centers, what an imbalance in somebody has within them, and help them bring it back to balance.
We have more and more emphasis these days on matters of health. I'm kind of a television kind of guy. I watch a lot of TV. Even when I'm working at my desk and the computers are on, I have a large screen TV over my shoulder. I can spin around and look at it once in a while, but I can hear it. I also have a device around my neck so that if I'm out of the room and there's an interview or something going on or some kind of presentation and I don't want to miss it, I push a button and I can hear it, you know, even across the street. And one of the things I've noticed is that health is a major issue right now. Many people think the news is all about what our president is doing. By the way, where's Marilyn Monroe when you need her? Because about 60 years ago, she sang Happy Birthday, Mr. President, to President Kennedy. Mm-hmm. Today is Donald J. Trump's birthday. He's 73. And we have Matt, who's a singer. Matt, you ought to be singing Happy Birthday, Mr. President.
Happy birthday, Mr. President. Happy birthday to you.
Oh, put a skirt on him.
There you go.
That would be counterproductive to just life in general.
It'd be counterproductive to TV, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, in spite of all the news out there about all the stuff that's going on in the world, like Iranian warships and problems in the waters off of Iran and that sort of thing, the news cannot in any way overshadow all of the television programming going on about physical health and various healings. So having Doug with us today is apropos. Here's Nancy and I attended a seminar the other day, and the guy's going to be on as one of our future guests that has to do with alternative healing. Very interesting. I've had a conversation with a lady, naturopathic physician in Texas. Had a phone conversation with her. That's another whole area of healing where some people call it naturopathic, whichever you call it, but They're trying to use natural things for healing. That's why, Doug, it's so interesting to me that you bring this into tying nature and spirituality together.
Pain is emotion. Okay. So if you're in spiritual pain, physical pain, depressed, anxiety, all these things, you're out of balance, and you're going to experience pain because of your emotions, something that you're not dealing with. If go meditate in nature and get it out of your system, go talk to the trees, go sit by a river, go sit by a lake, go talk to a healer and get it out of your system.
See, another way of putting that would be for, let's say, the committed Christian, genuine follower of Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
They could be told, you need to go off someplace and sit and meditate. In fact, Billy Graham doubted. He started early. Well, he was. I don't think he was out of college yet. He started doubting the Bible being the Word of God. And, of course, if he was alive now, he'd be 100 years old. Billy Graham went off into the woods, found a tree stump, and sat down and opened his Bible up on his lap. And he stayed there thinking and praying until he had personal confidence that he could take the Bible and begin preaching it with authority. A little bit of time spent in nature, in connection with his Creator, and in a spiritual setting, in spite of the fact he was in a natural setting, yet a spiritual setting, the man changed the world. So this is not too far afield from what you're telling us to do, that get into nature, get into the spirit realm, and absorb some healing power.
Even the Bible talks about meditation.
That's right.
It's in there, and I'm not deep into the Bible. What I remember about the Bible was from when I was a kid, maybe being at one of your sermons and the Bible stories,
Sure.
the stories and stuff, and what I've seen in stories.
But you
It's
know
a lot of that there's just stuff of using crystals for healing and all of what I'm talking about are spiritual things that are in the Bible. If you look, you're gonna have to dig through some of the control issues, and I'm sorry you're not going to hell.
Yeah,
don't come into a sermon and tell me you're going to go to hell if you don't come back next week. But I don't believe in hell. I believe that we experience the most hell we can here on earth, learning our human life and overcoming contrast and things that are hard, and turning that into new ideas and making life enjoyable. We're here to enjoy life. We're not here to be miserable. So if contrast, accident, or emotional problems come up, we're supposed to overcome that.
well, wasn't it Jesus who said that he had come that we might have life and have it more abundantly? Sometimes that's overlooked by...
More abundantly. See, we're supposed to go from a place that we don't have enough abundance in our life. Well,
Go to where
we
there's
can
more.
have it. We got to believe that we can have it.
That's right. Now, this is powerful stuff, folks. Nancy and I, we are around all different, I'll call it brands of Christians, because branding is the big thing these days, all the way from very conservative fundamentalists to conservatives to more contemporary Christians to very liberal Christians. And so we have a wide span of all kinds of beliefs, but we should none of us should ever get away from the idea that one of the reasons Jesus came out of his own words was that we'd have life and have it more abundantly. And if you're in ill health, it's very difficult to say I have an abundant life.
Yes.
Now, I had a dear friend who spent the last probably 4 years in a nursing home. Just about the same age as our president. He died the other day. He spent most of his time in the last 4 years in bed. And he was a man who did a lot of, he's a former pastor. He had been an evangelist. He did not have an abundant life the last several years. That's for certain.
Mm-hmm.
It was very difficult. Now, I will say this. He had peace, which a lot of people who aren't confined to a bed don't have.
Mm-hmm.
He had a personal peace. But some people would say that's all you need, and other people would say that's a part of the abundant life. Well, what say you? The guy that has more connections with the Native American wavelength and thought life than I have by any means. What do you say?
What about your final years? Or?
Well, peace is what part of good health is peace? What part of the abundant life is peace?
Peace is an individual thing. It is what is that you find within yourself, spiritually or even with family or whatever who you are. Be satisfied with who you are. And I am who I am, and I'm okay with it. And not everybody's okay with me. Not everybody's going to like me. But the people, my family who like me and around me that I surround myself, I'm happy with that. If you're at peace with who you are and your spiritual self, you should be at a place where you're enjoying life, so you're happy about your life.
That's a big part of the abundant life, in other words, what you're saying.
Being at peace is the abundant life. It's different for everybody. You can't put a cookie cutter on it.
The Bible does speak about peace that passes understanding. It's like, Nancy, when you and I visited our friend in the nursing home the last time, just a couple of weeks ago or so, he had a kind of peace that most people wouldn't understand. This was a small room that he was sharing with another guy, and he's been in this bed all this time, and he had a TV up there, but that was just a couple of days before he stopped watching TV and a number of things. But he had a peace that passed understanding. And so that's got to be a big part of the abundant life. I don't know a great deal about a Native American culture, but you say it's not just for people of the bloodline, but it's a state of mind.
The spirituality part of Native is, and it's not just the Native Americans in this country. You can go to Peru or Africa, Native, unspoiled, their own spirituality hasn't been manipulated by governments.
I see. Okay, that's
so
very
that's
important.
It's their own different beliefs to nature and who they call the Great Spirit, God, Allah, or whoever they call the higher power, the Creator. That's how their spirituality is, how they make a connection with nature, how they survive in nature by being part of nature, taking what you need, no more, and being respectful of nature, and thanking God, thanking the Great Spirit. Hey, I have what I need, or hey, I could use a little more, or these things are missing in my life, or I'm so grateful to be here and now in this moment. I feel part of God.
You didn't go to bed hungry last night, did you?
No, some friend of mine picked me up and said, "Bet me a steak." So
you're not running around hungry today and thirsty, are you?
No.
Yeah,
and I have gratitude for even that moment, even that I go to a restaurant and have a steak, there's still, and I think I might ask me to pray, and I said gratitude was probably one of the first things that came out of my mouth. For gratitude for this moment.
That's right.
Gratitude for what it took to make this meal, the people, the animal that died, the people that prepared it, all the steps it took to get it there. People don't even think about it. Well, here's a steak on a plate, but where'd that come from? How many people were involved in getting that steak to the table and the animal that lives?
Yeah, well, the old saying is, and it's very true, that we've raised a few generations now of kids who don't know where milk comes from. They think it comes
from
out
a
of
grocery
carton.
store. They don't have any idea that what it took to get that milk out of the animal and get it to the store.
Nancy and I are fond of watching shows about Alaska.
Love it.
And when they are hunting and they make a kill, whether it's an elk or a moose, they take time to thank the animal.
Thank you for your life.
Yes, and it's hard to explain. You have to watch those shows, but you can see how those people get in tune with nature, and are.
It's like the Native American spiritual thing, but they're over there, even though that's not what they study. That's what they live.
Mm-hmm. It's really something. And
I live with nature, so I have to put gratitude out of there. I have to thank this animal for giving me meat. I mean, he lived his life, and now.
That's right. Now, we're dealing with what nature provides and being in harmony with nature. What a good time for a commercial from naturalsolutionsstore.bz. So we break to Matt Pearson, our engineer today, our announcer, our everything kind of guy, for a commercial.
I'm going to try this. Hello, everybody. This is the first time of doing this on your show, Dr. Paul. Thank you. We're going to talk about berberine HCI today. Berberine HCI is a product we have at naturalsolutionsstore.bz, which, Dr. Paul, we're working on developing a T-shirt that just says .bz on the front of it.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be fun once we can get that going. But berberine HCI has antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, and immune-enhancing properties. It is effective against a whole wide range of bacteria, protozoa, and fungi. That's me. I'm a fun guy. So don't take it around me because it'll scare me away. It can be used topically on cuts and other wounds also. It's most commonly used to treat gastrointestinal issues. So we don't really need to mention what those are because a lot of people know. Preliminary research suggests that berberine's beneficial effects may cascade into helping many different conditions, including depression, perhaps due to the increase of noradrenaline and serotonin, which those are chemicals in your brain. For those of you who don't know, serotonin specifically, when you're in love, your brain releases a lot of that. So you're literally high on love whenever you're in love. Did you ever think of that, Dr. Paul?
Oh, you're asking an 84-year-old? I remember.
It will help to benefit cancer by helping to suppress tumor growth and spread, inflammatory infections, including antibacterial effects against the flu, and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, or NAFLD, as I like to call it. That's an acronym. I think that's what that's called, right, Dr. Paul?
Now, what was it again?
NAFLD, NAFLD,
Yep.
Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease.
Yeah.
All right, and it helps by helping to reduce the fat buildup in your liver. So it helps to lower cholesterol, supports blood sugar metabolism, and it supports cardiovascular health, and that's your heart, and it's pretty important. So you can get all that at www.naturalsolutionsstore.bz. Now,
All right.
back to you guys.
Thank you very much. What are you doing with your right-hand man sitting at your left hand there? What's Jason?
He's operating YouTube.
Oh, Jason, thank you. He's the guy making it possible for all you YouTubers to see us goobers. How about that?
Yeah,
So you have a YouTube channel also. So
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to have to join.
Yeah. Oh,
It's new today, I guess what I understood.
New today for us. They've been doing it all week.
Yeah.
Okay.
They
Started on Monday.
They have a show every Monday through Friday. Comes on 8 a.m. our time, Springfield, Missouri time. For those of you in Germany, it's a different time for you than it is for us. And it's called Morning Drive. And these two guys are very interesting. And Matt can be a fast talker. And he brings their show on fast and he takes it off even faster. So I make it a point. We have to keep a little humor in here when we're,
Yeah,
we got
humor's
all
good.
this stuff going on in the Gulf where we may break out in war or whatever. You have to have some good humor. And so he has the fast close. I specialize in a slow close, which you'll experience today. Anyway, back to our topics at hand. Natural solutions, there's 43 of those products the last time I counted. And some of them are a product of Jessica Thomas, who has a store that helps
The
sponsor.
Sentimental Hoarder.
Yeah, Sentimental Hoarder
The Sentimental Hoarder. That's in
And-
Kansas City.
in Kansas City. That's right. So
Downtown.
yes, downtown. And Jessica and Doug would get along very well together. I'm convinced, because Jessica is the one who directed me to a New Earth community where they're environmentally careful and only take what they need from nature and so forth and put it back. And also a church in that area that is oriented toward Native American culture. However, they welcome people who are not of.
Yeah, they do.
And in fact, I had tried to get a hold of them to connect you while you're in the area, and did not succeed for the first time. And I was having problems getting emails through. I even had problems getting some emails through locally here, very local. So something was going on out there in the ethereal. But because of spirituality, now we've had some talk here about natural solutions, actual things that come right out of nature that you can ingest for health. The spiritual side of it, we talked about Billy Graham and how he settled his issue concerning the Bible, became the world's best-known evangelist of all time. The other side, the spiritual side, where you just get someplace where it's quiet, where you can be in the right atmosphere and you can spend time thinking in a way that gets you away from the mundane and gets you into meditation. Shrine of the Holy Spirit. I want you to visit it sometime, Doug.
Where's that at?
It's in Branson. And a good friend of mine who owns the Mansion Theater in Branson, it's a 3,500-seat venue. He was a Kansan, just across the border from us here, where he grew up in Pittsburgh, Kansas, went to college there. He lives in Florida. And he built the Shrine of the Holy Spirit, and it's free and open to the public. It's a multi-million-dollar piece of real estate. Beautiful to see, some water features, and a little chapel only seats 68 people. It's so worshipful, so quiet. But then they have two other buildings. One is a gift shop, and the other is a bookstore. In fact, my book has been part of that bookstore. But I want to give you this push card about the shrine, because maybe sometime you could visit that and have take your wife with you. And we're sorry she couldn't be with us today. Whenever she's available, sometime you're back in town, we'd love to have her along with you as a guest. And since that's the Shrine of the Holy Spirit, and I mentioned that their bookstore carries my book, here's a copy I signed for you of the book that I wrote, Embraced by the Spirit.
Thank you.
And that book is now about 14 years old, so I need to update it. But in the meantime, hang on to it, because maybe someday I'll be famous and it'll be worth a lot of money.
There you go.
All right, back to what you're doing. I know on the way here you stopped off at a little place called Elkland.
Yeah, that's where that.
And Elkland is north and east of Springfield, about 27 miles the last
Yeah, it's
time I
about
made
30
the trip.
minutes. Yeah.
And Nancy and I, we used to make that trip every Sunday, right? For 3.5 years, but who's counting? Because I was the pastor of a little church there, a part-time pastor, and we had a good time, didn't we?
Yep, had all kinds of miracles happen.
Remember some of the families and how precious they were?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
Now that church is no longer of my old denomination. It now is part of another denomination. But Elkland is an unincorporated town, so it's really a settlement.
I think I I drove through it on the way out. I stopped by, and a guy named Steve that I bought the teepee from, he's got a nice look. It's really just peaceful. I'm trying to get out of the city because I like that quiet.
Well, that's what I was getting around to. On his way here, Doug stopped in Elkland and purchased a teepee, what, 20 by 20 foot
Well,
diameter?
they call it 20 foot is the diameter length of it. So they take 17, 25 foot poles. I don't have the poles yet. I got to come up, I guess, find Amish or somebody to cut me some trees for poles. And
Well, we have Amish up in this area.
I got to, and I got to get them on a trailer. I got to I got to figure that out too. So, but yeah, the teepee is for me to hold ceremonies in, and when I get my property, I plan on teepees. The church property, Sanctuary Divine Healing is my personal church that I own, and the teepees for me right now to be able to travel and set up for a couple of days and invite people in for ceremonies and have, because a lot of times we go all night, and safe place to keep warm or if it rains or whatever, and it's also the environment of having a teepee that
And this
spiritual
is
setting.
like 20 foot across. It's a circle, obviously.
Yeah, it's a circle, so the diameter length across from the bottom, from one side of the bottom, is 20 foot.
That's a lot of tent. How tall is it about in the center? Would that
I
make it?
imagine it's probably a little, well, the teepee poles leaning,
Right.
I was told were about 24, 25 feet.
We had a native.
So it's at least, it's probably 20 foot in the air at least, if not more.
We had a Native American couple who were racially, they were full-blooded, I guess what we would say, Native American. They were both ordained by Acts Ministry many years ago, and they were based in Pennsylvania. And they did evangelism, but they also had a big drum, and it was a part of their, it was like a ceremonial drum.
The ceremony drums are important in, as we have drum circles, but it sets a heartbeat for the tribe, especially the big one. The other ones are a little more fancy things go on with those, but the big ones is the heartbeat, the rhythm, and it's better to be a big bassy sound that carries and vibrates the ground a little bit, because we're affecting, well, 40, 50, 100 people when I've been at some of these ceremonies, and the drum helps them kind of stay in tune.
You mentioned shaking the ground a little bit. Do your people ever just take their shoes and socks off to get in touch with the earth?
Yes, absolutely. There's a good reason for that.
I've been hearing about that on health shows, by the way.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of health shows on it. We are a battery, okay? Positive ions are constantly feeding us from Cape. But in order to get the negative ions, that's where the earth comes in. And we're wearing rubber-soled shoes, just like the insulation on your electronics, that keeps you sheltered from getting the electrons back into your system, and not having this balance, because you're out of balance because you got too much of one and not enough of the other, makes you unhealthy. But when you get this, go barefoot, dig your toes in the ground, and a little bit every day if you can, get grounded, get your balance back of ions. And there's a lot of science on this now. It's not just the Native Americans say you should go barefoot.
No, it's
there is science.
I heard about it from a medical doctor.
Medical doctors, you need to go out and get, and there's something about going out and getting dirt on your hands,
That's
gardening
right.
the bacteria.
Yes.
You see, everybody's washing their hands with Clorox and bleach and soaps and antibacterial. Okay, that's nice, but I'm sorry, you're killing some of the good stuff that you need in your skin.
Exactly. That's why they have probiotics.
So getting out and getting dirty is healthy. I mean, get some mud on your hand, get your feet mud, and it feels. Dig into your toes in the grass and just enjoy it.
And get sweaty once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, this medical doctor on TV, he was talking about the value of sitting outside and getting some sun for natural D, taking your shoes and socks off, walking through your lawn, spending time doing that to get rid of negative stuff that flows out of the body. And some of them are really opposed to this the alcohol-based little hand cleaners that people carry.
They use too much of it.
And getting rid of good bacteria. And so
and then they're opening up to being sick because they got rid of too much of the good bacteria. Our bodies are full inside and out of bacteria. Now some they're helping your body. It's part of it. And some of them, if they get into the wrong part of the body, they can make you sick.
That's right.
But they're in the right place in the right amount, your body functions normally because you need them.
That's right.
So if we kill the good bacteria trying to get rid of all the bad all the time, well, we're going to get sick because we killed too much of the good stuff.
Right, right. With the combination of getting in sync with nature, getting your soul in sync with the universe of universes, and attending to things in a way that our ancestors attended to them without realizing the benefits, could change a person's life. In other words, most people today seem to be living a very artificial existence.
The artificial existence is keep watching TV. You want an artificial existence, watch TV. That's not real life that you're watching most of the time.
Oh, no.
There's some reality in it, but it's the TV it teaches us to sit at a chair every time after work and watch all those commercials and watch all those drug shows, poison shows of when all this, you need to take this, you need to go ask your doctor about this.
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry, you wouldn't even have known that to begin with. It now, in other countries, they don't have that drug. They get along just fine. I forget, ungodly amount of drugs we produce, and we use like 80 or 70, 80, 90% of them, and the rest goes to the rest of the world. We use more drugs, pharmaceuticals in this country than any other country in the world.
Yes, that's right.
And it's not healthy.
No.
They're teaching that on TV that you need these drugs. You need to see this doctor. You need to go here. You need to eat this pizza.
Tell your doctor about it.
Yeah.
It gets to the point where it's almost disgusting when these pharmaceutical ads come on, and then they have their disclaimers. In other words, Nancy and I have reached a point where we say you can take this,
but it might kill you.
You can take it if you're dead. You're okay to take that drug. We have a lot of people who are almost on life support and don't even know it, walking around because of all the pharmaceuticals they take.
Numb. They take the one. They give you one. And it causes problems, usually gut problems. It's one of the main things that can cause you some gut problems, intestinal problems. And then they'll give you something for that. And then they'll give you something to balance that out. You went in for one piece of medicine, now you got a whole bag of them, and now you're numb and don't know which one to take. It's time to get rid of about 90% of them. You might need a blood pressure pill. You might need, a couple of these, but I don't believe in carrying a bag around just to carry your medicines.
It's interesting that we have progressed in this country from through various stages, and of course I like to sort of I guess tout my age a little bit, because I don't mind being 84. I'm looking forward to becoming 90 and still doing what I'm doing.
Good attitude.
But I remember the rise of the great tent revivals and the healing preachers, and what an impact they made, and
inspire people, get their energy up. I don't care if you're getting something to get you to dance a little, get your energy up, make you feel good.
Sure,
that's inspiring you that's healing.
That's right.
To be inspired where you're ready to jump out of your seat. That's awesome.
See, I remember before we had penicillin.
Now that's a good one. Okay.
And my mom went through a very serious infection, and they gave her sulfa drug.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's still in use, but you rarely hear about it. But antibiotics now are being overused, and all the research that I've done on it indicates that there are a lot of people who want to take an antibiotic to kill a germ or a virus, and antibiotics only work on bacteria.
Yeah.
So they're taking antibiotics.
Overuse.
Yeah, and they're killing good bacteria that could help them overcome the sickness. So as a result, they're taking this and taking that and something else.
This is something that really happens with taking antibiotics. It really screws up your intestinal tract.
Oh, yes.
It kills all the good bacteria.
That's
and then
right.
you got diarrhea and all cramping and all this stuff. Well, there's a solution, a natural solution to that. Go eat a bunch of yogurt. Okay? But it's like you say, it's killing the wrong stuff.
Oh, yeah.
There's other. We have forgotten, and I'm trying to find, still learning some of the old medicines and stuff. But we've forgotten. Before doctors, we got along pretty good. I mean, there's been some advances and some surgeons and stuff that have come through. It's awesome, but we did all right. There was medicines, and I think when you're talking about sulfur, it's actually it's poisonous to your system. But to put it in the wound area, I think they even actually ground and maybe sometimes put it on the wound. I don't remember what I studied about it, but it's a poison. But it kills that. It's contained to that area, and then it was an old medicine.
Well, when I was a little bitty kid, my dad, who was a butcher, meat cutter, and back in those days, packing house was called a slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
And everything was pretty crude by today's standards, but he cut himself, and he got what was called blood poisoning.
Mm-hmm.
And he had red streaks going up his arm. And the doctor simply said, I don't know what you're going to do. You need to try to do something, but if that redness goes up to his heart, he's dead.
Basically, the old way was to cut it off before it got any further.
Yeah, so my mom took matters in her own hands because she'd been taught by her mother, who'd been taught by her mother, who'd been taught by her mother way back.
There you go,
and
good medicine.
She sent my oldest brother out and my sister, who was the second in line, to gather some elderberry branches. And brought them back, and she had them peel the bark off of the elderberry bush. She put that in a pot of water on the stove that was heated with wood, and she boiled it, and she got it steaming hot, and she set it out on a place, and had my dad put his hand over it, and she covered his arm with what we used to call a tea towel. That's when you dried dishes. You didn't have a dishwasher. It was called a tea towel. And so he put his hand there as long as he could stand it. Then he'd pull his arm out. And then as soon as he could stand it, went back in, it was covered again. Until she drew that poison out. Now, that was as natural as you could get in the practice of medicine. Now, people had a built-in survival thing, I think, that we can see if we'll just get our minds off of some differences and get into unity in Christ through the Holy Spirit and begin to take a look, then we can understand some cultures and what they have to offer. For instance, those people who try to extract from nature only what they need and then put it back, this is a reminder of like when I was born. I was born in a house that had 3 rooms total.
It's true.
A kitchen, a living room, and a bedroom about the size of where we're sitting here.
And tell them how many was in it.
And in the house were my mom, my dad, my brother Wilbur, my sister Adelie, my brother Bob, my brother Bill, plus, now that's 6, plus 3 cousins from Iowa who had moved in. 9 people, and I come on board June the 5th, 1935, in that little bitty room to be person number 10 in a 3-room house. I told people that it was 3 rooms and a path, not a bath, a path. Path went to the outdoor toilet. And My mom wasn't supposed to have any children after the first one. Well, they had one who'd passed before as a little kid before I was born, so I was number 6 actually, and she was only supposed to not have any after the first one. And I'm convinced the only way that my mom and dad could have children and be so successful to have 5 out of 6 make it, and my mom not die in childbirth, was because they lived so close to the soil. Now, here's the rest of that story. Not only was I person number 10 in a 3-room house, my mom did come close to dying in giving birth to me because of bleeding. Consequently, my dad walked 2 miles into town every day and carried a block of ice on his back. We're talking June, July, and August. Carried a block of ice on his back every day, had an old ice pick. He would chip up the ice. My mom, they kept her on the floor, and they packed her body from the waist down in ice. Now, not only that, we had another cousin, a local cousin, who was brought to the house by her parents, and she had the mumps, and they knew it. She gave everybody in the household the mumps, and including me. I was 9 days old, had the mumps on both sides. We all, at that time, all 10 of us lived through all that. But I believe it's because they were so close to nature. In fact, when I was born, at the exact time I was born, of course, my dad sent all the kids down to the creek. Not to the creek, the creek. And it's just, in North Missouri, it wasn't a clear running stream like you have in the Ozarks. Because that's where they played. That creek, I'm convinced, was healthier water to swim in than swimming pools in the city.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where they are when they receive news about a new baby brother up at the house. And my oldest brother, who was like 16 or 17 at the time, is it all right if I use the word DAM, Matt? You're the station manager.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as there's not an N in it, you're all right.
They're just words.
My sister was waiting outside the bedroom, and when Dr. P.C. Campbell stepped out and said, here's this little boy, my sister then went down to the creek to announce to my brothers and my cousins that I had arrived. And when she made the announcement, my oldest brother, he said, just another damn mouth to feed. But he and I were always very close. We were the bookends.
Yeah.
He was the oldest, I was the youngest. And now I'm the last man standing. But I tell you what, I remember when we lived close to the soil, that when we raised a garden, we got our hands dirty, like you were talking about. This stuff is not too far.
No, it's not too far. No chlorine, no all the bleach, all the stuff all the cleaners we go to the grocery store to get today, you didn't have.
What's that, Matt?
No hand sanitizer.
No hand
No hand
sanitizer.
sanitizer.
No.
Yeah, hot water and a bar of soap was bar of lye soap and hot water, right?
Yeah, my mom made soap in the backyard.
Homemade lye
I
soap.
wash my hands, but I don't use hand sanitizer. That's weird, but
Hand sanitizers are dangerous, actually.
The only time I'll use it is if I'm in a hospital and there's somebody. Then there's a reason, and then
Yes.
And then if you're going to use it and you're in a hospital, you're a nurse or a doctor. When you get out there, go get your hands dirty. I mean, if you don't do any gardening, just stick your hands in the mud and play in the dirt a little bit, get the bacteria back on you.
Well, when I was a kid, we played outside.
Yeah.
We played in the dirt. We crawled through the brush.
Got it on your hands, got it in your mouth.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And we took a bath once a week at my mom's insistence. And it was in a galvanized tub, about yay big around. And it was behind the heating stove in the middle room. And we all shared the bath water. Yeah, we did.
Was it outside in the summertime?
No, we kept it inside even in the summertime. But I remember in the summertime, of course, we didn't have air conditioning. Many a time we would go out on the side lawn, we called it, side yard, and we'd lay down sheets and we would sleep outside.
I love it.
Never gave a thought about a mosquito or a snake. In fact, we didn't worry about snakes because my mom didn't allow them on our property. They weren't allowed. And she had a way about that.
That works, too,
obviously,
sometimes.
because it does work. We did not have snakes on our land. And we could crawl through the brush and never come face to face with one. So anyway, we only have about 4 minutes left here. I want to say this. What a joy it's been to get insight here that we haven't had, brought to our attention before, and we'll have Doug back. But coming up, we will have Dr. Philip Lloyd, who owns Cherry Healthcare Center here in Springfield, and he will be talking probably about some stem cell therapy and that sort of thing, and hormone therapy. People have gotten their bodies so messed up that alternative health is rising to the top as to alternative medicine. So Dr. Philip Lloyd will be with us twice coming up. We also have an interesting medical doctor coming on. Interesting because he is also an ordained minister and an associate pastor of a very strong church here in Springfield. And when he came out of the local university years ago, his church said, "We think you should go into medicine." So they sent him to Columbia, to the University of Missouri School of Medicine. He graduated and became a licensed MD, came back to Springfield. He has a totally independent practice. He's not hired by the hospitals. Totally independent practice. That's getting to be rare.
Yeah, I'd like to meet him.
So Dr. John Clark will be a guest coming up in the near future. We'll also have back, we'll have Dan Prater, who is an expert on 501c3 tax-exempt organizations, nonprofits. We found out last time when he was here, Doug, that within the city limits of our little Springburg, USA, as I'm fond of calling Springfield, of 166,000 people, there were 1,663 nonprofits in this one little city, in the city limits. And we're going to hear more from Dan Prater, very interesting man. We will also have a friend of mine who's in Kansas looking after his 90-year-old mother. He had been a transplant to Branson and Eureka Springs area, did a lot of work there, but he's an author, a published author of about 4 books. He's also been involved in television production. Anybody here familiar with the book called The Shack? All right, or the movie, The Shack? It's a very, very popular book, very popular movie. It's about a man who goes back to the shack where his little girl died, and he experiences God in person, Jesus in person, and the Holy Spirit in person, and a fascinating story. Have 1 minute. Anyway, this guy was involved with that, and he's very interesting, and he will be on our show the first Friday in July. We'll also have, we've had lawyers and all that kind of stuff, but we've got a good lineup of people coming on. I had a list here someplace. Just trust me, but there's going to be 1 week coming up when there's going to be another surprise. So be sure and watch every Friday. It's time for my slow close. I want to thank Doug Byland for being our guest today. I want to thank Nancy for being my co-host. I want to thank Matt and Jay for running the show. And my name is Paul Collins, and this is my slow close. This is the Happy Hour, and it has been the friendliest show on radio, the best look on Facebook, and the thing to see on TV. And if you're a goober, become a YouTuber and watch us every Friday at this time. And it's Springfield, Missouri, Central Daylight Time, and it'll be Friday again. See you then. Thanks for watching.